Radio. It is good to see you guys. We are here today with another very special guest who's an old veteran. I believe he was on the one of the first episodes that we ever did.
Well, he was definitely on version 1 of Warlord Radio with his band Lament Configuration. So our buddy Joe is a tremendous drummer for Ditton death metal band Lament Configuration, who is actually Krishna's drummer. So
it's true.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an incestuous show tonight.
He's actually my guitar player. That's
okay.
And then he also plays for Acoustic Devil on occasion.
Indeed, he is percussionist for Acoustic Devil.
So kind of all around. Plus we play Dungeons and Dragons together and shit. So yeah, we're all good friends here.
Yes,
it's true. So until we do lists.
That's right.
And all that goes out the window.
And that's why we're here. So we're doing another list episode, and tonight's list is going to be for tech death. So, Joe, why don't you describe what you would define tech death is for the people listening?
Well, above all, tech death should be impressive to listen to. When you listen to it, you should be like, oh shit. There should always be some element of surprise or unpredictability written into it that is also really difficult to play, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a challenge for the listener to follow along with, and it's also a challenge for the instrumentalists and the vocalists to do.
So for the person that doesn't know, what would you say is the biggest difference between just normal death metal and technical death metal?
I think technical death metal goes the extra step in really redefining what heaviness is, because you're playing at such fast tempos that, does this beat even make sense,
Right.
If you were to slow it down? Probably not. It's just a bunch of, you playing as fast as you fucking can. But in the moment, with the music, to maintain that brutality, there is that enhanced speed. Mm-hmm. I think also the riffs. It's got to be the riffs. Like, you have to hear the riff, and it has to be, holy shit, how is he playing that? That's an element of tech death, I think, to me, is definitely the guitar playing and the drumming. Mm-hmm. But really, it's all of the instruments, The one who gets off the easiest in a tech death band is the vocalist, and I mean, that's not even necessarily an easy rollout,
right.
as you well know. So, for those, I think those are the things that really define it from standard death metal, though. It's really that extra step, just an extra injection of everything.
Right. Okay, so why don't you break it down, your top 5 tech death bands?
Top 5 tech death. Okay. Number 5. I did think about this.
So you can do it in whatever order, but you don't have to do it in order if you just want to list them. It's
no,
okay.
I
so
want to rank.
You got it.
I took the time to rank it, at least for tech death.
Okay.
I really want to have the order is important.
This is an area of Joe's specialty. So
I just really love tech death.
Yeah.
I know I haven't heard all the tech death bands out there, but it's like, fuck it. I just really like the genre. So we'll start off with number 5. One of the bands that actually got me into the genre, and that is Archspire.
Okay.
Which friends of mine may have said Brain Drill is superior to, but Archspire is kind of one of the few bands that's still really doing this. From the late 2000s, right? That was when the whole tech death thing kind of started really getting movement. So, they've stuck around. 2 great albums, but the live performance, these guys, is fucking ridiculous. They're really tight, they're brutal, there's tons of energy. You would think music that fast, like you don't want to move. Okay.
Right.
I heard Archspire on the album. A buddy of mine was like, check this out. I'm like, this isn't real.
Right.
No one plays like this, right? This is just some sounds that someone put together. I know any DJ that could do this, right? It's like, no. You go and you see them, they do it.
Right.
They play it all, Of course, there's some layering and stuff like that, but seeing that,
You always respect any band, and I know that they're not tech death, but for instance, one time I saw the Sword live, and the Sword sounds exactly the fucking way they do on their album live. That's impressive as hell sometimes. I know so many bands that don't sound anything like their recorded works live, so I mean, that's incredibly impressive, especially for tech death.
I saw the Sword on someone who's going to get mentioned in one of our later lists. The Sword was really good live. Their drummer had really good cymbal technique.
Yeah, it's insane.
Real clean.
Real tasty.
Yeah, no unnecessary movements. Just great performance.
And one thing that we've mentioned before is that I firmly believe that the ultimate like judgment of a band or the ultimate status of a band is how good they are live.
I agree.
It is, it's like there's bands that you can hear them recorded and you're like, but then you see them live and you're like, wow, these guys are fucking great. Or vice versa, where you might love it until you see it live, and the live is the final stage.
That's just the worst.
Yeah,
I hate that. It's so disappointing. You always want a band to bring it better live.
Yeah. So Archspire?
Archspire is number 5. Coming in at number 4, a band that I love dearly, and that is
Fallujah.
Yes.
Okay.
For really creative songwriter.
Yeah.
Have gotten a lot of criticism with the new album, just because the highs. There's not any low gutturals.
Right.
But I saw them perform, and he got the lows. Like, he did the performance and nailed it. So there's no reason why I can't be on the new album.
The new album is album number 3.
No, they're working on number 4 now.
Right, but the one that they released was album
Light,
number 3.
That's if you count their EP, that's album.
We don't count EPs.
Okay, well, nobody told me that. We don't count EPs around
We don't
here.
count EPs.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah,
We gotta
fuck your
count
EP.
EPs.
No.
This is the year of EPs, dude. Can't knock EPs.
Do you have a favorite album by Fallujah?
Fallujah, definitely The Flesh Prevails.
Okay.
Such a good fucking album.
That's the one I'm most familiar with.
From beginning to end, it's just a great album. But I gotta say, like, I had not really listened to the band before I saw them live, and Undying Light live was amazing. Like, the instrumentals, like the playing, fucking Andrew Baird's drumming is fucking incredible. Again, another band, live performance, totally different level. To see them play that music, like, live is just like, fuck, man. It just gives you a rush,
Yeah.
Though you may not. That's the one thing about Tech Death, though, that I didn't mention earlier. Tech Death is a lot harder to mosh to.
Right.
And people usually just like headbang and kind of do their own thing. And then there's like that one section where they play a groove for like, maybe like 8 bars and people beat the shit out of each other, and then it goes back to.
Right, whatever.
That's how it was in the before.
Yeah.
So coming in at number 3. I have to check my list. Number 3. Oh my god!
I can't believe you forgot
Number 3. No, it's the order. Listen, it's the order. Okay.
Right.
Coming in at number 3, a band that I had not listened to until I met this man, out of Italy, called Flesh God Apocalypse.
Yes, they're actually on my list as well.
Yeah.
Flesh God Apocalypse is fucking incredible.
They're so good, and a criticism some people say, is that they're too melodic or they're too clean, but it's like, man,
nonsense.
It's
Nonsense.
mixed with the classical elements.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the people who do sing are on their shit. They hit their notes.
Oh yeah.
That's the most important thing.
In my opinion, is some of the most impressive neoclassical metal possible.
Period.
You know what I mean? Like, out of anybody that does even approaches neoclassical metal.
And their drummer, who is now their singer, and then they got a different drummer, but anybody that's drummed in that band is just an absolute beast.
Yes.
So I looked into Francisco. Check it out. He still does the drums, the guitars, and the vocals on the albums. And he just hires people these poor unfortunate souls.
That guy's
Eugene
too much.
Rabchenko, dude. He's this 28-year-old guy, and he just fucking nails those parts, dude.
Yeah.
But it's like, he worked his ass off, right? And then the meme, right?
Right.
All that work, and then they put out an acoustic song.
Right.
But no, man, they could just get by on the strength of honestly that one player. But then they got the other Francisco, I think that's his name, who plays piano.
Right.
They're both named Francisco. I missed the last
They're
name.
Italian. It's alright. A lot of Franciscos.
Anyway. No, but the piano player is fucking great too. He's really, really good, right? And adds that extra element. I was going to see them live. I was going to try to get you go with me.
Yeah.
And then, everything went to shit. And we didn't get to do it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite album from them?
I like the new album.
Yeah, badass.
I kind of bounce around with the other albums. The only albums I really listen to, like, all the time, I always listen to Mafia. I fucking love that album. Yeah. I think that's one of the best just death metal albums, period.
Right.
Like, it's so good. There's no fat. And then the piano track at the end is so spooky.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so perfect. Such a good way to end an album.
Yeah.
And nobody had ever done anything like that. At the time. Now they got, people that are kind of in that vein.
Right.
Just to see that, that was...
They were definitely the first band that I saw. Like, Flesh God Apocalypse was always one of those bands where, like, no one else does this like these guys do.
And their live show is astounding.
Yeah, it's incredible.
They kill it. But anyway, moving on to number 2.
Number 2, tech death band, and this is gonna piss some people that are very close to me off, but my number 2 tech death band is Necrophages.
See, they are actually also on my list. I fucking love Necrophages.
They're amazing, but they are my number 2 for tech death. And there's a reason for that I'll get to when I get to number 1, but let's talk about Necrophages for a little bit. The fucking riffs. The riffs. Now, when you talk about tech death, the example I always give people is Stab Wound. It's like there is no better example of tech death than Stab Wound. It is just like, that is tech death. It's fast, it's brutal, it's got melodic elements, you know, it's got interesting changes, it keeps you engaged, it's interesting, there's variation, you know, just such a, and then after that, you know, the fucking Stab Wound into fucking, what is it called? What's the
I don't know their titles well enough.
Still Inborn. That's fucking Stillborn.
They only got the one album, so I should know it.
He's got like 5 songs that have the word Stillborn in it. But anyway, no, it's just a great, you know, performer too. I never got to see them unfortunately, but I've looked up some of their live performances. Just really nice translation of those riffs. It's like, did he play them live? Fuck yeah, he did. So
what's your least favorite Necrophages album?
There's only 2. There's only 2 albums, and that's also another reason that they're at number 2, because, you know, I really like to see a catalog out of people if they're going to be climbing the ranks. You know, Necrophages just gets by because they really kind of, after the creators of the genre, they were the people to be like, no, we're going to step up. We're going to, as a genre, make everybody step their game up. So I think that's something that needs to be mentioned by Necrophages, is that, you know, they made everybody say, oh shit, people can actually play like that, so now we all have to work harder, you know, we all have to make our blasts faster, etc. It's like an arms race of brutality and speed.
Right. Okay, so what's number 1?
Number 1, and again, some people may not even agree with me that this is a tech death band. I would argue that
they're not here, so they can fuck off.
This was the first tech death band, and that is Death.
I would agree with that statement. Yes.
Because those elements that would be developed later, you know, to some of the best death metal drummers to ever play, you know, Gene Hoglan, Sean Reinhart, rest in peace.
They kind of...
Richard Christie, sir.
Well, he cut me off before I could say him.
Sorry, no, what they did, though, is they kind of, like, very much in the way that, like, you know, you would give Cannibal Corpse credit for, like, really being pioneers of death metal.
Right.
Brutal death metal, yes.
Death that is definitely a pioneer of tech, man. You cannot argue that. Like, there's so many different bands take cues off of Death in the first place.
Well, you can make an argument that Death is the original death metal band.
I would actually.
You know, is the interesting thing about Death, and one of the reasons that they're on my list also, is because they have different progressions. You know, Scream, Bloody Gore is very different than the Sound of Perseverance.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's true.
I think it's that, literally, that progression of albums is what eventually turned them into like a technical death metal band. Before that was even really a term that people understood.
So what album then would you say by that album they were tech death?
Human.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Human or Individual Thought Patterns.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of splitting hairs, because, you know, it's like even Scream Bloody Gore was different at the time than the other bands that were coming out, you know, different than the first Cannibal Corpse, different than the first Deicide, different than the first Morbid Angel, you know, but they really took that sound and then they ran with it, and then so much they ran with it that Control Denied, which was his other project, was like even further beyond and went like full progressive, you know, so I agree. I would think that probably Human is kind of the splitting point between like death metal and like tech death.
But by Individual Thought Patterns, I'd say that's full-blown tech death.
Yeah.
Those songs are just... I've had a chance to play through some of those tunes, and man, even Human, you know, it's like it's not an album you think of as super technical, but sit down and try and play those Sean Reinhart parts. They are not.
I mean, I do, but you know.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about that because everybody doesn't know that you're one of the best drummers in DFW.
Well, yeah, no.
Never plays in public, though.
I am not Italian, so.
But his name is Francisco.
Yeah. So, Carrick, what would your 5 tech death band be?
These are in no specific order because I didn't think to rank them like Joe did.
Yeah.
but the first one I ever heard was one of the first death metal bands I ever heard, period. But I would consider Cephalic Carnage tech death.
Yeah, fair enough. And very good band too. I think a little underrepresented by a lot of people, but I really dig them.
But Eric Park from Rod of Obsidian showed me Cephalic Carnage probably in like high school maybe, and it got me onto that entire track. Like that's where like anything that I've listened to that I think is like either death or tech death usually branches off of Cephalic Carnage somehow.
Yeah.
Another one would be Suffocation.
Oh man, what a good band!
I've always been a big fan of Suffocation.
So good.
Right. Great band. Yeah.
And not even any specific like album or song, or it's just I love everything that I've heard from Suffocation, just kind of period.
They're totally tech death.
Yeah. Suffocation is great, and they've had tremendous drummers like their whole history.
Yeah.
But my personal favorite of their terrific drummers is Mike Smith.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Pierce from Within.
Yeah.
Fucking love that album, dude. It is so good.
Yeah.
I also, Fallujah is on my list. Joe showed me Fallujah a while back, and I actually bump Fallujah quite often now.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those kids that like bought a bunch of the physical copies, so I have a bunch of their shit like on Spotify.
I have 2 scrolls.
No fucking idea what album these are on, or but I mean, I've been listening to, ever since you got me into Fallujah, I listen to Fallujah at least once a week.
Well, and to like give some perspective, we had a really awesome like D&D session.
We did.
And the whole like evening was just an the whole thing was a Fallujah fix.
It was a Fallujah, so yeah, but I mean, like, it was like this big demonic boss battle, and we were just blasting Fallujah, and it was fucking awesome.
It started off as a like hidden temple, and then they like found the Guardian and had to deal with it. It was right when like all the music like started to get heavier too, so.
Nice.
It really worked out.
I mean, they do have like a very like cinematic type of sound. So.
Yeah, exactly. Flesh God Apocalypse is also on my list. I'm not even going to get into this because we literally just went over every reason I love that band.
Yeah.
They're fucking great.
They're fucking
that's
amazing.
4 for you,
That's
and you
4
got
for
1 more.
me. I'm going to try not to say death just because that's what the cool kids are doing.
Right?
So, nope, it's gonna have to be death.
Yeah.
It really is.
I mean,
I had enough. Like,
it's
there were
fair,
other
man.
bands I could think of, but no, like as far as like tech death bands that I actually listen to,
yeah,
I listen to death quite a bit.
That's the thing. You know, you know a lot of tech death bands, but like, are they bands you'll play all the time? You know, maybe not.
And Human is definitely my favorite.
There you go. I was gonna ask.
Album.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
Right
Human
on.
is definitely my favorite death album. Always has been.
Is that your
Very
favorite
cool.
too?
No. Death is on my list too. It's at the top because they're one of my favorite bands, period. And their entire, I celebrate their entire catalog. But my 2, and it's tied for top of their albums, is Scream, Bloody Gore, and Sound of Perseverance. And I love them for different reasons. I love that first album. I think it's great and unique sounding, and I like the catchiness of it, even though it's more simplistic. But then again, I'm not a musician, and I don't get caught up in all the technical, it's like, you know, I'm a guitar player, therefore I'm paying attention to how many arpeggio sweeps or how difficult it is.
You're not a musician.
No.
What are you talking about? You're a singer.
Yeah, but the singers aren't musicians.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Disagree, but okay.
Yeah, that's not right at all. But continue, please.
Yeah. But no, so Scream, Bloody Gore, and Sound of Perseverance are my 2 favorites. But I love all their albums. So.
Individual thought patterns and symbolic.
Yeah, they're great out. I mean, I can't argue against any of them. So
it sounds like you're arguing against them.
Right?
Too.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Young.
Otherwise, Flesh God's definitely on the list for all the reasons that we talked about. Let me get into the ones that aren't on anybody's list. Obscura. I
was thinking that. I thought you were going to say Obscura.
I
thought that was going to be number 5.
I was between Obscura and Nile, and I couldn't figure out which one I liked better.
I almost put Nile and melodic. I was like, what the fuck? Nile's like, they're tech death, they have some melodic.
Well, so Nile's, but Obscura actually made up of some of the guys from Necrophages, and a little bit more melodic, which is the reason that they kind of edge out Necrophages for me. You know, their songwriting is just supreme, and of course it's extremely complex and tremendously accomplished. But yeah, so I kind of put them a little higher than Necrophages. And then Nile, Nile's one of my favorite bands. They're extremely technical and brutal. Like, they're one of those bands that they could fall in different categories of bands. Like, you could call them brutal death metal, you could call them regular death metal, you could call
I
them
put them on
death.
my melodic death list. So.
I was thinking about putting them on there. I was. I might need to revise my list.
But Nile, and it's really, really tough to pick a favorite Nile album. The newest album is great, but if like gun to my head, I had to. In Their Darkened Shrines, I guess.
Okay. I love the new album.
Yeah.
The new Nile album in 2019 was my album of the year. So
yeah.
My brutal death metal album of the year.
Yeah.
So that's just killer album. George Class is playing just fucking brutal, fast, but tasty.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
the sections where he draws back and he plays something simple. Right. I don't know the name of their new vocalist for Nile.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But he's also plays guitar, and man, his vocals are fucking great.
Oh yeah. Well, and another cool thing is that they do like multiple guys do vocals within the band, like the drummer and the guitar player and the bass player. So they do a great job. And then my other band is Brainjoe. Brainjoe. Brainjoe was the first like next level crazy like technical death metal band that I heard. I don't believe they're even around anymore.
I don't think I've ever heard
but they've got 3 albums out. My favorite is the first one, Apocalyptic Feasting, I believe is the name of the first one. I could be wrong on that. But they're insanely fast. They play like insane arpeggio sweeps and blasting, and it's way over the top. But it's got a little bit of a rougher edge to the production, a little bit more of a live sound, as opposed to just being like perfectly on the grid, everything punched in type of thing.
DIY.
And that kind of hooks me. So I don't listen to it all the time, but if you're gonna want to jam some like just fucking crazy tech death, Brain Drill is hard to beat.
Okay. So I will have to check out Brain Drill. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Well, there you go. So check it out and do us a favor, and you guys post any tech death bands that you think that we missed, or if our lists suck. I mean, you're wrong, but you can do it anyway.
Yeah, comment. We'll come to your house and kick the shit out of you.
Right?
Yes, they will.
That is it for this list of Warlord Radio. Pay no attention to the fact that we will all be wearing the same clothes.
There you go.
It's next
been Warlord,
week.
thank you.
See you guys in a week.
Fuck you, Randall.
Fuck Park Beakers.
What's up, Len?
Yeah, no, fuck Randall.
You're listening to Warlord Radio Podcast. Please hit like and subscribe at the bottom.